happy people. Tracy Reed here today with day 16 of my December daily. I've taken a few days off because we were just doing other things, and that's okay. It's okay to not dedicate every day to December daily in December. I can always finish it up after Christmas. Today I am documenting my husband and his burgeoning poetry I don't want to say career, but he's really great at poetry, and he has been writing prolifically lately. So I wanted to save some of my favorites at this moment in time. So I wanted to use these journaling cards, and I printed out my journaling on clear sticker paper. And I wanted to use these journaling cards specifically because of what was on the other side of them. This is the Cocoa Daisy Silent Moon collection. It's very ethereal, celestial, very just very, you know, all the things that we love. And so the quotes on these cards were just absolutely perfect for his poetry. And so I wanted to use them specifically for the backs. Unfortunately, I could not come up with a plan so that you could see the front and the backs readily. Like I wanted to do some sort of flippy thing or some sort of like hangy thing where you could flip them around, and my brain wasn't functioning at that level when I was making this page. So instead, I decided to cut pockets directly into the background paper that I decided to use that are just slightly larger than the journaling cards themselves. And then on the back, I'm going to do what I normally do when I create pockets is I'm going to use some red line tape to create rails for these cards to sort of guide them in the back. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use red line tape around the edges and at the bottom so that when you stick it in the pocket, it stays aligned for one thing, and then also stops where you want it to stop. And I'm going to stagger these all the way down the page. So I'm just going to show you how I do this first one in case you've never seen me do it before or anyone else do it before. Just adding some red line tape. I will also just, when it is time to adhere the red line tape, I'm just going to use some cardstock and put it on the back. Normally I would just adhere it to the next page in the album, but these were really flippy flappy and moving around, and I didn't want them to fall out between now and whenever I do my next page. So I'm just going to adhere it to a piece of cardstock instead. So I'm just adjusting this a little bit. I've got all of these cards in here now, and you can see that I accidentally cut in the wrong places. It's not going to be a big deal. You can see that like slit on the right hand side there. It's not going to be a big deal because I'm going to just glue it right down so you won't even be able to see it really when all of these cards are in and the paper is together. See, no big deal. Put all these in, and then I was like stuck after this. What do I want to do now that all of my interactivity has used all of my creativity? So like I love this where it says you are the universe experiencing itself. Like all of these cards were just absolutely perfect for this page, but man, I just could not figure it out. I mean, obviously you can still flip them over and look at the back, but you're not going to really know to unless I tell whoever's looking at it. So I was kind of a little bit bummed out. I did pull in a gold alphabet from a different company for this page, mostly just because Cocoa Daisy doesn't really do numbers very much on their alphabet. So I just knew that there was a gold 16 that I could use on that other letter sheet. This foam sticker says dreams. Initially, I was going to use the alphabets from the Silent Moon collection, but you can see they just blend in too much for me. So I go into my stash and pull out an older white Cocoa Daisy alphabet instead, and I'm going to do a whole line of Cocoa Daisy letters in white, and I really love the way that that looks. But now I have some awkward space underneath all of that that's kind of not making me super happy. So you can see I just kind of struggled a little bit. I decided that I want to add these quotes from the chipboard because obviously these are quotes from him. And I thought that that worked, but man, it looks awkward. I wish that I could put those quotes next to the journaling cards like the other one was, but it just wouldn't work that way, and I couldn't put it above the other journaling cards, so it's just kind of on the struggle bus. No big deal. auditioning some embellishments, seeing what I like. I like nothing. So instead, we're gonna pull out some rub-ons for the photo. I love the way that this photo is purple and blue. This, our living room lights purple and blue at night if we want it to. So because it was so beautifully purple and blue, I knew it would match this Silent Moon collection perfectly. I trimmed off the outside edge, so now it's a 5-inch page instead of a 6-inch page. I initially was like thinking, oh, I'll just put it in a page protector, but then I remember that the page protectors are 4.25 inches, and there was no way I was going to be able to cut off 4.25 inches or 4.25 inches without cutting off like the title. So we just went with 5 inches, and it'll go outside the page protector again. I loved the way that this rub-on framed that 16. I did have to move the 16, but I love how it sits at the bottom there. I'm just thinking. All right, I decided to get out some stamps, and I'm going to add some stamping to this card because the way that it stuck out of the top of the page, it just kind of looked a little bit blank and odd at the top. So I'm going to add some stuff to the top, starting with these stamps from the Silent Moon collection and some Catherine Pooler ink. Then I'm also going to add in some stamped sentiments too. Oops, sorry, we're off camera. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna add in some stamped sentiments as well. It's gonna say favorites and captured. It's my current favorites of his. Yeah, favorites captured. Perfect. Now I want to add in some embellishment to the second card as well. I don't think that the third card really needs it because it has a lot going on at the top, but the second card was just kind of blue at the top, so I decided to add in some of these gold-ish stars, and I thought that that worked pretty well. Of course, it takes me a minute to rearrange them, and then I remember that I have the sticker kit too, the memory keeping sticker kit, and so I pull out some stickers from the sticker kit, and I think that that will help. Of course, I'm going to look through the word bits first. I really like this turn the page. I think it works. I really want him to publish his poetry, so I'm hoping that this turns the page into his self-publishing journey. So I liked that. Looking through the stickers, I'm going to add a different star. I really thought that that moon or that sun would be really cool, but it was too big. And this didn't make much sense to me. So instead, we're going to go with these 3 stars. We're going to frame his words. And then I'm going to move this one over. And it's still not working, so we're going to go back to this one. And I think I'm going to add a little word bit there as well from the sticker sheets. It says, "You're a star." Perfect. I don't add anything. I think I add a little star to the third one. Yeah, you can see I just added a little blue star, but nothing really. I didn't add much else. I'm going to use these labels from the label sheet to write my journaling on. I'm not loving handwriting journaling right now, but I'm going to do it anyway. I do end up doing it in some places in this album, just like on labels like this. And since there's so much typewriter anyway, I thought it would be fine. Okay, so I'm liking the way this is coming out, but I'm still a little bit like, what do I do with this photo? There's a lot of blue space at the top. So I'm going to use these wood veneer stars, but I'm actually going to emboss them gold, which turns out to be a very tricky thing to do because they just want to fly around with the heat gun. Sticking them directly into the Versamark ink pad, then I'm going to dump some gold embossing powder on them. Move them down to the bottom where the funnel is. Perfect. And then I'll cut out the process of drying them where they just fly continuously everywhere because I was very annoyed, and I'm sure that you will be just as annoyed watching it. But I'm just pulling them out of the embossing powder, dump the embossing powder. I decided to keep them in this tray to do the embossing just because it kind of held it still a little bit. But I still ended up having to pick up this last one, especially because, they just kept flying. They were too light, but they are really cool. And so I like the way that they came out. They were worth the finger burns, I think. So I'm just going to add some of these gold stars at the top. I'm actually just going to add a bunch to the whole thing. I have initially put one on the actual like scrapbook page over here, but I move it. I don't end up liking it over there. So instead I'm going to put it back on the photo, and then I'm going to put a sentiment, that turn the page sentiment, right here at the top. Love it. It came out great, even though there was a struggle. And here's what it looks like all done. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There's a link in the description box below to the blog post for this page if you're interested in the credits and the still images. And I will see you next time. Thank you.